Got it. All right, everyone. Welcome to another XAFer community stand-up. We had to delay our meetup this month because we had the Dev Intersection Conference, and when we came back, we actually came back to a literal fire in one of our server rooms on one of our clients. So it was a crazy week for us. So we finally are back. Happy. We have been trying to get this meetup since February to discuss the XAF roadmap for 2022. But with all the Russia-Ukraine situation, we just postponed it on March. But we're happy to get back here to discuss. Today we're going to have just basically a panel. I see Dave is here, Jose is here, so happy to have you guys here. Thanks for everyone to join. As always, there is a lot of power in community, so I appreciate you guys taking the time to be here with us. No formality, take a beer, take a coffee, and let's start discussing stuff. As always, please join the Facebook group. We are already there, I think that 1,700, and we're growing a lot. XAF Blazor, I think that is actually increasing a lot of popularity with XAF, and I'm really glad about that because we strongly believe XAF is the best, is one of the best ways to develop line of business applications. So I'm glad to see more .NET developers getting involved. Of course, as always, the LinkedIn group, Gitter, and all the network, like social networks and everything. Now, before we start on the topic of today, I want to invite everyone. So we are also running the Arizona mobile .NET cross development user group, and next week will be really good because next week we're going to have Jeffrey Palermo, the host of the Azure DevOps podcast, talking about Blazor architecture and patterns. So, and I already see this talk from him in another conference, and I have to say it's one of the best talk about Blazor that I have seen. It goes from what happens in the moment that you put the URL in your browser, that the JavaScript client from Blazor gets downloaded and start asking for the components. It goes from memory, it goes to hosting, it goes from WebAssembly and server, the difference on dependency injections. He talks about repositories, how you should structure your solution. It goes about DevOps. So really nice talk. So I definitely recommend everyone. Of course, we will record it as always. So if you are not able to participate on live, you will see it later. But it will be a great moment to ask him questions. And he has done really big Blazor server application in production. So he showed me one of his auction application that he did in XAF and in Blazor. And actually, I want to mention that because I saw a question in the Facebook group last week about using real-time communication in XAF, and actually XAF is using Blazor server. So we already have a Signaler hub there for us, but it's so transparent that we don't see it. But you can actually create your own hub, create your own groups, topics, or however you want to call it, subscribe to it. And they did that for an auction site, and it's a beauty. So definitely recommend this talk. As always, I think that I went ahead and start talking about, I want to let Jose introduce himself. I want to let Dave introduce himself, and then we get back to the topic of today. Want to start, Jose?
Sure. So, hi everyone. Like, I guess everyone knows me already. Like, at least people from this stand-up. My name is Jose Ojeda. I'm from El Salvador. I'm a Devexpress MVP, and I work for Sari Ambit Frameworks. And I try to publish as much of our work and research that I can. So, if you ever feel stuck on stuff or want to do something that looks like black magic, just contact me in Twitter or Facebook, and I will see what we can do about it. So, Dave, your turn.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm Dave from Llama Technology. Not much to add over what we've been saying in the past, but I'm happy to see the stand-up running again after we missed the last one, and I'm really excited to see what's coming in 2022. So, if you need any assistance with your XAF applications, by all means, reach out to us. We are on Facebook. We are on the web. So, Jose?
Yeah, so I know that we do the introductions every time, and I know that most of our audience right now is regular already, so they already know Dave, they already know Hochi, but I think that is always good to introduce because there are going to be new people coming into the world of SAF, and it's good for them not to have to go back and watch everything, and then they get a quick introduction. Regarding Dave and Yama-chan, I want to point out, let's go quickly to their site. It's taking a little bit on my side. My computer, I think that I have to finally format it completely or get a new one because I have just abuse from her. So I just want to point out the Dave and the Yama-chan thing already published a new documentation on all their modules. So this is a great stuff. It's really comprehensive and really to the point. So right there are a lot of modules, a lot of functionality that you get out of the box without doing nothing. And one of the great ones for myself is the controller management module and the workflow module. Workflow module was a commercial product before. Right now it's free for everyone. So please feel free to jump on it. That's a great module right there. And the controller management module, if you're doing any performance or any things that you want to check what is a problematic controller, this is great stuff. So please go check that out. That's good things there. Now, let's talk about SAF and what's coming and what is already there for us. And of course, I want this to be a discussion. The most important part, we can all read the article and we're going to read it together now and discuss it. But the most important part is your feedback. Let us know what you're missing, what you have tried, what is still not there, what you're waiting. I know a lot of people are waiting for the column chooser, and that's coming now in 22.2. So there is a lot of things that will be coming shortly, but also we want to know what is your pain points, what are you missing right now. So this is the 21. I wanted to start with the SAF Road 2021 because it will tell us how much we have accomplished so far and where are we going now. So the first thing, of course, we know that the SAF Blazor UI was released in 2020, and we are not even 2 years from when it was officially released, and we are actually having several SAF Blazor applications in production, and the performance, the stability, and the amount of customization that we're able to do right now that we were not with SAF Web is amazing. So if you're a beginner, please go watch this introduction video, and there is a lot of getting started. Check all the Devexpress documentation or YouTube channel. There is a lot of great information there about how to migrate and everything. So let's discuss localization. We have it there already since 20.2, and not only that, the runtime switch for the language, that's there since 21.1. Clone object is there as well on the module. Audit trail for entity framework and XPO is available there. The office module ready. Dashboard module has been there, and we have done crazy things with those dashboards because right now we have, and we had before, but right now with the GS runtime that we have available there for us to send some JavaScript, is a lot more easier to interact with all those events. So we have the whole dashboard module there available for us. A scheduler and notifications calendar, that's still not there. Of course, we have implemented, and we have seen it before, we have implemented the scheduler control as a view item, and we have implemented the scheduler control as a list editor. But of course, it's not the same as when the official implementation is released. When that happens, we're going to move completely to that implementation, but that's still not there. We're going to see in the 22 roadmap. Action container view item, that's there for you if you want to add any control in your detail view. User profile avatar, new property editor. So right now we can basically do property editor, list editor, all of those are there, and the documentation is really good. Grid list editor, so we have the old grid list editor that was in using SAF Blazor, but they actually, remember the blog post where they actually changed that, and they decided to go back and re-implement a complete new grid list editor, and I'm happy to say that it's going to be released in the roadmap of 2022, so we'll get to there. Pop-up window customization is still, they have some workaround about CSS and some workaround, but there is not official API there for us. Same thing for the chat and pivot grid list editor, and the state machine is available, so you can play with it. And the workflow modules, as we just discussed, the Yama-chan workflow module, that is also available for Blazor. It's going for Windows, web, and Blazor. So you can definitely check that out. And of course, a security system that they expose the API and it's available for everyone. It doesn't have to be XAF. Non-XAF applications can take advantage of that. Entity Framework Core. This is a great thing because myself, I'm not a big fan of Entity Framework, but with Entity Framework Core, they did a really, really nice job. They are exposing a lot of more. I think that they are honestly, they're taking a lot of things from XPO. That XPO has had that there forever. So I'm gonna let Jorge, when I finish this 2021, expand a little bit more on those. But they are now having a support for a lot more databases. Right now, they have even a way to put comments in the query. So when you are profiling your application, you can see this query came from this method. They have a mapping, so they allow you to just put your DB context and say, okay, I'm just going to map this to another property, to 3 properties. So they have actually a middle point. There is a lot of great things into the framework code and getting a little more comfortable with it. So, and of course, like the signs that are not going to be there, now the unified platform that you can actually create Windows with the web API, Blazor with the web API, and a lot of more other things. Let's just review quickly and then just go back. I just wanted to see everything that it was promised in 2021 that is already there. The only thing that I think that they had to postpone is the scheduler module, and I'm not sure what was the reason about that, but I'm pretty sure that they have some, especially, and I don't know if this will have any relevance in this, but the system drawing.common that is on Netcore and XAFers is changing. So there is a complete breaking change, and that will make Devexpress re-implement their whole system drawing.common. I think that they will do a Devexpress drawing, that they will do their own implementation.
Yes, basically, I don't know if you remember, because we have this crazy case like a few years ago where we recompiled all like Devexpress DLLs for Xamarin because we wanted to use everything that we have for desktop and web in Xamarin. And that was one of the biggest challenge. That it's not a challenge that is actually related to Developer Express. It's a problem with the framework, because .NET, the drawing system of .NET depends on Windows APIs. Like it's totally based on Windows APIs, so it was impossible to move, not even to Mono. So I think that actually the Devexpress created their own version. I think they're going to use a Skia or something like that to do their own drawing system. Will actually improve the render of the UI, especially for reports. Because when you render reports in, for example, terminal server, the rendering of the reports was faster in Visual Basic 6 than in .NET, but that's a problem of .NET, of the rendering system. So I'm really looking forward to see this like working. And yes, it's a Skia, I see it there. So I think it's going to be blazing fast. And I think that Microsoft so far have not fixed the system drawing problem. Actually, there is like several versions of it. I need to see the roadmap for Net 6 and Net 7, but they are still trying to fix that. So system drawing is something that is really attached to the Windows API. So I'm glad that they did this change.
One thing there, Jorge, is like in Windows, because the issue is in the non-Windows, they have to be completely cross-platform. So it's starting in Net 7, if you use system drawing, even in Windows, it will give you a non-platform, non-implemented exception. They are actually making sure that you use the cross-platform. And if you see the plan is here, they're going to do a new assembly. They express drawing that it takes care of that. And they will do another one later with a Skia chart base. So basically, it's exactly what you're discussing. So I have a question right there. Let me know if you have the answer for this. One of the things that we came across and we had some issues was using reporting in Android and iOS because of the system drawing issue that we have, that it was not compatible on Mono. So for that one, we had to create actually a web API or some middle layer that it does the reports in the server and send us the string so we can put it in the PDF. That's the only way around that. There was no way to do offline reporting in iOS on Android. Will this fix that?
Yeah, basically, if they fully implement it, well, this will all happen in a really like advanced version of the framework, like 6 or 7. So for MAUI, if you run MAUI on mobile, yes, you will be able to render reports on well, basically anywhere like Linux, like Android, especially in iOS, natively there. Because as you said before, we have to do this trick, like we send it somewhere, usually a Windows machine, that you can render it, and then we send it back. And you cannot have offline stuff there. You have to use something else, because everyone wants to make a point of sale on Android or iOS or something like that, a mobile point of sale. But then you have the problem of the rendering. So now this will fix it. But the main problem of all of this, which I don't think is a problem, is something like most related to the timeline, is that we need to wait for MAUI, because MAUI needs to run on mobile. So you can use this on mobile, but that's a Microsoft problem. In the end, it's not like Developer Express. So once they have released that, actually, I'm also waiting for it, because I want to finish the Sync framework for Entity Framework for mobile, but I need MAUI for that. So I'm hoping that one day it will come out soon.
Yeah, because that will avoid us having to do the web API to create the report, and 2, to be storing that string and do crazy things to keep it there. So when they are offline, we can show that in a PDF. So that would be a great solution. Okay, so that was the issue with the grid list. So before we go to the 2022, let's review a few other ones. So, and then we're there. Blazor UI 2022 roadmap. I think that this is really exciting, because this gives us a hint what's coming to XAF. This gives us what is going to be ported soon, because basically, if you see, this is a beauty. We're going to be able to have and we can do things like this right now, but they have to be custom template. It's not going to be out of the box. But right now, the accordion for the navigation, and not only for the navigation, the collapsible groups in edited view, those are really interesting and really nice and really requested features. So we know that with this control, that will be coming soon at some point. The flyouts, there is a new Windows API for that is going to be draggable, and it will be resizable. So those are really nice things that are coming. And actually with MAUI, there are going to be a lot of support for Windows. So like when you are actually developing an application for a tablet and a lot of things, you will be able to handle multi-windows. So that's a really nice feature. So coming that is not being started, a spreadsheet, sidebar, splitter, this one are not started, so we're gonna skip it. But if you see the file manager, this is really, at least really beautiful looking. You see this is a modern approach. When you are uploading things, you have a progress bar, you can cancel there. This is a lot of things, and all of those you will be able to, when it's ready on Blazor, integrate it yourself on XAF, and then the Devexpress team should be able to integrate it. So they are releasing officially the grid. So with that one, we will be able to get out of the box the new grid with all the features that entail. So there are a lot of things that come in there, especially server mode, that I was with that, I had that doubt, like what is the difference between server mode and queryable? And because both loads data on demand. But the actual reason that, and let's review it for just a second. The actual reason on the queryable mode is that the queryable mode has a lot of more limitations than the server mode, meaning that you cannot add custom properties at runtime. The non-persistent properties that they are not decorated with a persistent alias is not supported. Not persistent properties completely an entity framework core. There is a lot of limitation in this mode. Like for what we need, it has been great, but I know there are a few corner scenarios that are not supported. And now with the new grid, all of those ones will be already taken into account. So we will have the same functionality that we expect. Same thing with the master detail that is already available. So we are waiting right now. We are doing our own master detail in XAF, the master detail view, same thing, preview row. That's one thing that a lot of customers like, to have the detail view and you put some information right there. Cell decoration, column resizing. The column chooser, of course, is coming to XAF in 21.2. That's coming on 22.2, I think. We'll review that one. But all of these things that are on the Blazor, they are coming. So keep an eye on everything that is coming here. The masked input is still, there is a few scenarios that we have discovered that is not working exactly as we want. So that's going to come out of the box now. So this is really good. And again, more charts, more palette customization. What we're talking about Net 5 with the system drawing the comment, this is really important. And I think that we can see there is a migration guide if you want to migrate to the new data grid. So please take a look at that. It's every step that we need to go from the old, because if you started with an old version, with an old Devexpress version, you don't have the new data grid, so you need to move to it. Same thing with the server mode, and server mode should be coming by default soon.
So let me jump in on the new
Please.
grid. If you are migrating to the new grid, make sure you grab the 21.2.7 build. 21.2.6 had a bug where if you change tabs and try to do something with a link and unlink, it was throwing an error.
Nice.
Just a heads up.
Yeah, please, anyone can jump at any time. I want this to be a discussion, not a monologue, and this is great. Server mode data source, support for observable data collection, master detail view. This one I'm waiting to be using, because we have used this extensively, especially to give some type of category in one side, products on the other one, so we can basically add and do some type of point of sale. So these are really nice. So preview, column resize. So there is a lot of more functionality. It's getting closer to what we expect from all the grids on Devexpress. If we're talking about WinForms, before we move, there is a really nice, they have been working a lot on the HTML and CSS templates.
Also, Javier, I don't know if you mentioned that. Actually, that's something that I'm waiting for. I don't know if they're going to have like batch edit mode in the grid, because that depends on the grid, not on XAF, I think. So I don't know if it's one of the release features for this time that they're going to have a batch edit or not. I guess it's not there yet, right?
So the first thing for having batch edit mode is to have inline edit, and we don't have that yet. So when we have that inline edit, then I think that they will tackle the batch, because that's definitely one of the requirements that a lot of people ask. If you have 16 voice that you need to change some value and you have to go one by one, it's just a cumbersome task. So definitely that should be coming soon. But either way, right now you can even create your own inline grid. So don't get discouraged or stopped by that. You can definitely jump on that one and implement it yourself, and it's not a huge task at all. Okay, so Windows, they have had a lot of love on the HTML and CSS template. So that right now you can do a lot of things with that template, and if you see, it can look however you want. Basically, if you have good skills on HTML and CSS, you can put those templates and reuse it in your system, and they will look really, really nice. And that's one thing that I have to give to the web, that it definitely allows you to do some really beautiful things. Look at these touch notifications. Those are just beautiful for error, for success, for everything there. So now let's jump to 2022. This is what we want to see. This is what we want to discuss. Again, feel free to jump, tell us what you're missing on the chat, ask any questions, and after that we show a few minor demos, and we go from there. So of course, Blazor, it will always be the first one. Right now, Blazor has all the attention, and I think that it deserves it. I think that Blazor is the future in almost everything. You can see MAUI using MAUI Blazor. You can see the Blazor web view that is actually doesn't care if you're passing Blazor component or regular Angular, React. So it's crazy the amount of things that you can do. The Blazor WebAssembly team is doing crazy customization. I think at some point in the future, really a few years further, we will have some type of Blazor WebAssembly as well in XAF. That's not something that we can say for sure, because the Devexpress team, they don't, that there is a lot of things still to get sorted out, but there are a lot of things, great things coming. So Blazor, the new grid list editor that we just talked about with server mode support, column chooser that is coming, column resizing, performance enhancement. So there is a lot of things going here. The main menu toolbar. And I want to say that we also did a project where we moved the navigation completely on top, following the example that the Devexpress provide about custom templates. And after moving the navigation on top, we were able to put a breadcrumb really customized below. And again, you can do all of those and they will look really good. I'm really excited about this. So the preview of running time, so you can actually customize, and let's see the GIF. I'm really waiting for this one to release so we can able to start doing things. So let's see, this is the menu, this one. You see, we are gonna have the customized layouts we have in Windows and be able to do things at runtime. So, and it looks beautiful. You don't have to go to the model. You don't have to go to another place to do all those runtime. You do it right there and change the order, change the label. That's a beauty. Okay. Now, Devexpress team, they're moving most of the teams right now. I think that they only have, if we, let's say the XAF main demo, Blazor, let's see the teams that we have available right now. No matter. So right here, they only have 3 Devexpress teams. Everything else is a bootstrap team from Boost Watch team. So they actually, and we actually were able to create our own thing and include it here. I thought that it was going to be a more simple process, but there are a lot of steps involved, especially because you have like CSS compilation and you have to like do a few things. So I think that they will release later on a more streamlined documentation or tutorial about that, because at least myself, that I don't consider myself a web developer, I thought that it was like not changing into places the primary color, and then you have a yellow on all these pages. It involves a few steps, but that's coming. Migration to the Devexpress team and Bootstrap 5 support. With the support for Bootstrap, again, you can create your own team. You can do basically everything, and you will be really responsive. The amount of customization that we have encountered to do or web or Blazor application to be nice looking mobile, it has been minimal. It has been minimal. We just have to add a few media queries, a few things here and there, but besides that, it's looking great on mobile, the application, and we can show some demos and some examples later on. So this is basically our whole focus on all the Blazor part, but we cannot forget about Windows and everything else. There is going to be Entity Framework Core 5 coming on soon. There is going to be the middle tier. There is a lot of interesting in the middle tier for XAF. Out of the way, you get your web API with a CRUD operation for all your objects. But there is now finally coming the 2 part that we were expecting, what is going to be free and what is going to be paid. So basically, all the CRUD operation will going to be remaining free, but right now they're going to be adding a lot of free things, reports in the web API. They will be adding file attachment in the web API. They're going to be adding validation. So if you have an object that it has to be in a certain state and you request for it, it will give you the validation error if you ask for it. It will be coming a lot of other endpoints. Same thing for localization. You will be able to get your localization action for classes. So all of those things are coming. And of course, for us that we already have the universal license, that's out of the box for us. No extra pay, nothing. So think about that if we're already using XAF. Now, if you are using a non-XAF application and you are using the middle tier, of course, the only thing that you will have for free is the regular CRUD and no technical support. And we know how important is the technical support that we are getting, because it solves a lot of the issues that we're having right now.
Actually, Javier, there is something that is really cool about this, because we have done it a lot in both in experiments and in production code, which is that for a lot of people that they don't have the universal license, they can use the security system API for free. So if you want to have like a security system in your application, whatever whatever platform that you're target, you might be targeting Windows Forms, you might be targeting, web forms or whatever. It doesn't matter. Like, I think like one of the most difficult tasks I have ever had in my life is creating a security system. And even when you feel like, okay, I put so much effort on this and it's working good, there is always like hundreds of thousands of corner cases. So sometimes we complain about the security system because it does a lot of checks, but it's really efficient in the end. There are ways to tune it to make it faster. But the advantages that we got from this is basically for me a Ferrari, and it's also something that no one else offers. So in this case, being able to use the security system for free in your Xamarin application or in your Windows Forms application, even if you're not using XAF, is a huge advantage. I will take that always instead of creating my own security system, because do that is something that is really difficult, especially in an object-oriented approach where you need to handle inheritance and stuff like that. That makes it like thousands of times more complicated. The security system that I created like 20 years ago was for ADO.NET, and it was difficult already. So imagine having to handle subtypes, inheritance, and all those other things. That actually XAF is really good on that, on an XPO. So I strongly suggest you that if you're going to start an application, even if you're not a XAF user, maybe you're just an XPO user, use the security system from XAF, especially because we have it for free now. At least I don't know what are the limitations on it. I think it's only limited to some versions, but still, if you're not on the bleeding edge and you need a security system, use that one. I strongly recommend that. So that's my 2 cents on that, Javier.
Yeah, and there is a lot of things that we can do with that web API that is coming by default for us, especially comes with complete Swagger documentation, so you have every endpoint there. So I think that's a beauty. Now, .NET 6 is going to be used by default from now on. So this is great because the .NET 6 came with a lot of performance boost in the CLR, in the runtime. There is a lot of, I think that there is a new system collection immutable. Did I tell you about that? System collection immutable that is actually like 100 times faster than the before implementation. There is new source code generator that it takes like 100% the reflection time that it was used to find some of those assemblies, some of those domains. So there is a lot of great things there.
So, well, regarding that, there are a lot of advantages in .NET 6. Actually, in a lot of cases, and we saw that in the conference, like in the Las Vegas conference, like 2 weeks ago. We visited that place with Javier, and basically, .NET 6 is just fast in so many ways. Like there is a lot of like little performance improve that they will pay off like greatly. And for example, the immutable collection. That's something that is possible to do. You can do with third-party like libraries, but now it's out of the box. Like usually, I don't like the new releases of .NET in the sense that most of them are like with synthetical sugar, but now there are so many really core changes that for me, .NET 6 is what I always wished .NET to be. So it's like, I mean, it's a huge reason to move. You will get like performance enhancements. You will get new runtime and new target platforms like Linux, for example, if you're in .NET Framework at the moment. So I strongly suggest to take a look to .NET 6. And I have a demo for XPO and .NET 6 later. So take a look on that, like when it's demo time.
Okay, I'm gonna throw this out there. What do you guys think about the simplified XAF solution structure? I personally like it. Does anyone have a comment about that, or I will say mine?
I have one. It's like I hope that they have the both versions in the template. Like they can, you can do the modules, and you can have the simplified solution. This is good if you're starting, because like everything that they're doing daily in .NET is for people who is starting in the language. For example, actually, I will talk about this in my demo. You have this, for example, simplified solutions or projects with no namespaces and stuff like that. So this is basically following that pattern, which if you are experienced app developer, for example, like Dave and I, we have like since day one almost, I like the way it is right now. I don't like it to change. But for new people, it's like less overwhelming, I think. So I'm just hoping that they keep both versions, the simplified version and the old version, because I do a lot of reusable modules internally for the office or for testing projects. So I would like just to keep that structure for myself or for everyone that you like. I think that people from Safari might also want to keep the structure as it is, but it's great for new people. Like if you're joining just now to stuff and then you just see like 3 projects instead of 5, then it's less overwhelming, because the main question that I got every time that I go and train a team of developers, especially regarding stuff, is they tell me like, all my life I have only used 1 project. Why do I need to use 5 now? And it's because of the layering. But anyway, I vote for the whole for the whole layout. I don't know what about you, Dave?
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of having a simplified structure unless you need to reuse that middle module. And I mean, to add a platform specific module in yourself is not difficult by any means. So it's easy to go back to the the five projects basically. It's really breaking that. For 14 years now, I've been doing it with 5 projects, and I have to break that. I have to I have to know that I can put controllers in the end project, in the .win or the .blazor server projects. So it's an adjustment, but I think it makes sense. I do like the idea of what you're saying of having a separate template where you can do 5, right? Or you can do 3 if you're doing a single platform. I think that makes sense. But like I said, if you had to do it yourself, what is it? Adding an extra project that's a module, setting the toolbox item filter on it, and that's about it. So yeah, and then just adding the references. So either way, it's not all that difficult. At the end of the day, the Devexpress modules that come out and the ones that we do, the LlamaChat modules, there will be a platform specific module still, because we don't release the end application modules. So yeah, I think it's a good decision, especially when they're trying to get the bigger mass of people involved and using the application and trying to avoid some of that confusion.
I honestly like it. I do believe, like, why do I need that middle module? If you think about that, let's start with saying that the agnostic module and the platform module are the same. The only thing that is different is at the reference. If you go to the platform.web and you remove system.web and remove the difference, it's exactly the same project. There is nothing different. So basically, if you are only using one framework, if you're only using web or you're only using Windows, you could delete that middle layer and use agnostic and just the application. I think that basically right now what they're doing, because the thing about in the application in .win, .server, .blazor, .web, you could not put controller, as Dave was saying, like when they are trying to find it for reflection, they are not looking in there. So right now they have to change that to look in that application project. But if you need to do some reusable module on everything, you just add a new module yourself. So you do something that you will be using everywhere. Most of the time, when you are doing that platform specific project and you have a lot of things there, when you want to use a reusable, most of the time you don't use that one. You create a new one and you just put aside the features, the things that you need. Now, there are a few things that I'm not sure how it's going to work now. For example, when you're using shared model difference with the model, and you do something in the model in the last application, if the record already sits on the database, skip it. So it doesn't take in consideration the one. So the way to go is always do it in the platform module. So right now, I think that you have to be more aware of that if you do some change that is only platform specific, because you know that in the agnostic, there are not things that are, I don't know, only for the web in the model. And then when you go, you do it in the platform and that goes directly to your application. But if you go to the lower layer, that is the application, and you already have a record in the database, it skips it. So actually, I think that if we do XAF model share difference. Most probably we see it right away. And I think that I spell it right, wrong. No, not that one. Let's review the second one. This one, when you're storing the model difference in the database, right here. When you are creating the share model difference in the stored on the database, change that you do in the application are ignored, so they don't go to the database. So you have two choices. You basically go to your database and delete that, or you just enable the import share model difference to take the last changes. So that's one thing that I think that they need to take in account, that every time that we do a change there, then it's not going to be like before, that if you do it in the platform agnostic, that's it. Now, iOS 3 like that is simple for beginners. You don't have a lot of you have only the 3 projects. I have mixed feeling with Maui that is going to do single project for all the platform, because I think everything in the same project with that multi-targeting, I have seen the tooling just get confused, and then if you have an error on Android, not even Windows runs, nothing runs, and then you say, what's going on here? Those one are if the tooling is just have any issue, you won't be able to do it. But in this case, you still have different projects for diagnostic and for platform. It's just taking one extra layer, so you make it easy for beginners to start going there. Of course, we talk about this, and I think that this is great. This is actually going in the route of what Microsoft is recommending about dependency injection, about the new ways of building things. Right now, you see Maui is building like this. ASP.NET Core is being building this. Everything is using this approach. And it's basically using, if you see the Fluent API in your startup, and right there, you're going to be declaring in Blazor and in Windows. This is not only for Blazor. This is also for Windows. You're going to be declaring all your modules. You're going to be declaring all your endpoint, your custom endpoint for the API. You're going to be declaring your custom. So if you see right here, they have security. They have your own module, the system module, the clone. So it's going to change a little bit how we're doing it right now. But I think that this is the way to go, because you will have a common development approach in all your platforms, in Windows, in Blazor, in Maui, in ASP.NET Core, on your web API, everywhere you can take this and know what is the life cycle of your dependency. If it's a transient, if it's a scope, if it's a singleton, if you're adding an extension method for your model. So right there, it's a more elegant and more modern solution. You want to add something, Jose?
Yes, actually there is one advantage, the only advantage that I know about the simplified layout, and I'm not saying that it's bad, is that I'm just good with the way it is at the moment, is that building time will be reduced, because you don't have to figure out the reference between projects. So if you're having problems with building time, that can be way faster. So it's the same that happened with Xamarin Forms and Share projects. Remember that if you were using Xamarin Forms before, you have the iOS project, the Android project, and then the Share one, which was really difficult to use at the beginning because the tooling was not there. But in the last version, that was kind of a great approach, because then you just link the files to one of the assemblies, and then you compile that. You can even do that with this. You have to do like with the current layout. You have to do some trickery there, but again, what the students ask me is like, why do we have 5 projects, and maybe their computer is not that fast or whatever, or their disk is not that fast. The building time is more. And if you build 20 times per hour to check your changes, then well, like time is time, right? Of course. So one of the advantages of the simplify would be that it would take less time to compile. And also is in Netflix, stuff takes less time to compile. Unless you're doing WebAssembly, that takes forever.
Also, if you think about how we add modules in code in XAF, we have to add it to a required module type, put the namespace, put the module to the type. Right here, you just add clone module. That's it. That's easier, I think, faster to remember, and right away, you know that all module is add the name of the module word at the end. You don't have to like even look, nothing else. It's right there for you. with that being said, the platform application designer and the module designer will be going away.
Well, also going back to this, Javier, is I kind of like that they're going to do the same design pattern for I guess it's going to be at least for Blazor and for Windows Forms, because web form is not going to move forward, so they're not going to use this builder pattern. But right now, today, basically, you build the stuff in one way in Blazor. Windows Form is a totally different pattern. You cannot use dependency injection. I mean, you have to do some tricks to use dependency injection in Windows Forms. So this will create like more agnostic code in general, because right now we have two different paradigms. I think that if you come from a Windows Forms background, once you see the host builder pattern is like scary somehow. You see all this fluent syntax, and well, like it's overwhelming at the beginning. It was for me. I know, because I come from a really traditional background. Like when I started, didn't look like it looks now. So I'm kind of good with the really always, and also some other stuff that I don't like about moving to Net 6, but that's more related to Microsoft, is that thing about, and I will ask you your opinion about this, Javier. Why do you think about the global directives of not using namespaces?
I know you don't like it, but I do. I do like it, especially. I like both things. Like, again, I don't like the bar keyword. I like to be explicit, to know which type I'm getting in return. I know I like to read the code and to make it readable for other ones. So, and but there are some namespaces, system.link, system.data. Those should be available for everything. You should not have that clouding your class. You open your class, so you have to scroll down to start reading the code. So global namespaces, I think that is a great thing, and we are already using in Blazor. We have our imports that we pull on the namespaces there, and we go across the board. So it's not a bad thing at all. They have like those global and those implicit, and I think that that's and you don't have to use it. It's up to you. You can opt out. So everything that they have both choices that allows you, but you can also don't use it. I think that that's in the benefit of the community.
Well, and also just to think about in which case it's useful. I remember that one time we did a code review in a project, and it was a ASP.NET, like the traditional ASP.NET MVC type of application. And I remember that one controller were using 700 or something like that, using a statement in the top. So imagine that, just like 700 lines in the top of your file going down. And because that application was highly fragmented, and I like the fragmentation in general. If you have a small project, like 5 projects, like for me, it's small. I've been doing like 18 project solutions. But I learned like a few years ago that any pattern that you want to take it to the extreme or make it or fulfill the pattern completely, it kind of don't pay off. So you need to try to get the best of each pattern. For example, not using namespaces or using namespaces. Not using namespaces is nice if you have a few, right? And also not using if you have like 1,000 namespaces. So once you get any of the patterns to the extreme, the effect is the opposite, actually. Fragmentation, normalization, you name it, in the end, they do the opposite of what they're supposed to be. So back to you, Javier.
I just have to say, just to finish this part, if you have 700 namespaces in your class, there is something wrong with your class. Just you have to split that. There is a really bad design there. Believe me, I just don't want to even read your code. Okay, let's continue. Model editor enhancement. This is really nice. I don't know how many of you guys have had this issue that you're going to move the navigation item to another one and it doesn't move because you have to open it, go to items, and then drop it to the items. Right now, you drop it in the root, and it knows where to put it, and it's actually also both more fast and more stable. So I have had in the last month less and less issue with the model. Before, I remember like a couple years back, every time that you do anything, the model didn't want to open, then you have to rebuild, then you have to delete your bin, your object, you get out of your chair, jump 3 times, come back, sit, pray for a little bit, and then it opens fine. Right now, it has most of the time stable and more performance. So this is kudos to the Devexpress team. Again, like the .NET 6 report designed for Visual Studio. So right now, not only the end user, also for the Visual Studio, unit and functional test, really important. And this one I really like. We already have our own implementation, but this to be supported, this is really good. XPO connection provider support for SAP HANA for all those AS400 servers, also for the latest version of Postgres, and for the MySQL that it will include all the variations that it has, including Azure database from Azure SQL. So really nice implementations there and really good work for the developers testing.
Actually, Javier, there is like for people that use Postgres, that I used to be one of those. I kind of really like it, but the more enterprise projects that you do, the bigger the company is, the more that is kind of lean to the Azure side, and it kind of makes sense. I used to like to have the servers in the office, but like 2 weeks ago, one of our customers' office was on fire, so and the servers were there. So then you think, okay, it's good to move the things to the cloud. Actually, it was the same day that that Scott Henselman was explaining about the advantages of using cloud. So it was kind of funny in some senses. But in general, if you maybe you don't have the budget for something like Azure or something like Oracle, for example, using Postgres is the closest, or SAP HANA actually, both of them, is the closest thing that you can get to Oracle, which is one of the top database systems out there. So if you want to have like something really advanced, of course you need to manage it. So go for Postgres. You will have super advanced features like having a document database at the same time of a relational database. That's one of the advantages. His provider for Postgres is really nice also. It's really fast. So you can have basically the Mongo of, basically the mix of using MongoDB, Azure, and something specialized for G. So you get like a lot of things with Postgres. So I'm really happy about this new update in the XPO provider.
So as always, Jose and Joe sometimes differing a little bit of things. If you are using Azure, don't use Postgres, don't use MySQL, use SQL Server. It has a lot of more features, of course. I'm pretty sure they will catch up soon because the Microsoft thing is using SQL Server as their baseline to pull all the other providers. But I definitely believe Azure SQL right now is in a really great position in front of Postgres MySQL because the amount of features that I have included are really nice. And again, it's most of the time configuration in the Azure, on the server port, in the Azure portal right now. And I know that we have been discussing the roadmap almost 1 hour. And please, again, tell us what you're missing, what do you guys like, or what we review it. But if we have time at the end, I will show for 2 minutes Azure SQL Ledger, a new way to have some type of blockchain verification on your database. So it's tamper-proof. It's you know that if you do an audit of someone want to take, no one has changed the data, and it's just basically 3-4 clicks, and you're good to go. And it's really nice. So definitely Azure SQL is in the front of the database. So one thing that I want to show now that we finished the discussion of the roadmap, and please again tell us what you think, what you're missing, is if right now, and I think this is just a simple thing, but I like those things. If you think like we have the image, the logo, and we have the splash screen. So of course you can do your own SVG and make it really beautiful and so on, and same thing with the splash screen, but sometimes you just need just to show a prototype with the client name, something like that. So if you see right now, they have this crazy SVG that you don't know even what's going on in all of this. But in the first couple version of XAF Blazor, they did it different. So right now you see this is the logo and the splash screen. You can see it here right away. But before they used to do simple, and I thought that let's export it here and let's change it for a second. I thought that I had it ready, but this is just there. So if you see in that moment, like a few versions back, we have the choice to just change it here. So we can put here a logo, sorry, logo, and let's save this and let's close, and we can put in the other one. And anyone who wants this file, just let me know. I'll send it to you guys. This is just one of the old versions when and right here you can put, I don't know, splash. Let's say. And if we close now and we copy this too, and let's call this one logo. And we come back to our application and then we replace those. Let's see, we open it again. You see right now it's splash, right now it's logo. We go to our application, refresh. I put it in the other way. The splash was supposed to be, if you see now, it's supposed to be. It says sorry logo in the other part. So basically it's just now changing the name of this. And that's it. You don't have to deal with all that crazy SVG thing. You put something, just the text, and then you can show your client right away an application that it has their information here. So I put in the logo splash, so let's put here. Sorry. Oh, save and refresh. You have here. So you can give your client right away with application with their name and everything they need. So on. Okay. So I'm gonna pass the presentation to you so you can show the Blazor example that you want to show, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, so it's time for some coding. I was posting the picture of the meetup in Instagram, but then I got interrupted, but then I will do it later. So anyway, okay, so I have a few examples today. Let me start sharing my screen. I'm actually in the office today, which is something strange, but anyway, I will share the screen and let's see which one is, we want this one. Okay, so basically, hold on, there's a problem with the audio. Sorry for that, guys. We were having an audio problem. Okay, but anyway, I think it's good now. So let's see. Okay, here what I'm going to show, and I have this compiled in advance. Also, this is in my YouTube channel. Basically, I want to show one of the new advantages of using Net 6. This is a Blazor WebAssembly application using .NET 6. So what do we have there that is new and shiny? Well, basically, you know that if you're using WebAssembly, you don't need a server. Basically, you can have all type of like DOM hosting with no backend processing like PHP, ASP.NET, or ASP.NET Core. So you just put it in any type of file storage and it basically will work. So This is a WebAssembly application again. So, well, let me show you first the project and where the magic lies here. So, the project is targeting Net6. You can only do this on Net6. It's impossible to do it in other Net framework. And the beauty about Net6 is that you can use these directives, native references. So it means that you can basically include any DLL that is compiled for WebAssembly. So if you're into C++ or something like that, you can compile C++ libraries, include them as native assemblies on Net6, and you can run that either on your server side or your client side, like basically. So what happened before is like we do have like all the Microsoft data DLLs and nuggets that basically you can have those references that SQLite come in one of those in Microsoft Data SQLite. So all the engine runs in there, but the engine has some dependencies on C++ library, which is basically this library here. So I will not show the complete example because you need to compile C++ in that sense. In the video that I have in YouTube, I do compile in C++ and you see that process, but you don't need that. Basically, if you want to run this example, you can download it from GitHub. I will post the link there. So, okay, the magic here is like being able to include native references, right? So let's go to the code. If you see, we don't have a startup class. Why? Because this is Net6. So the pattern of the solution or the project is different, which it kind of sucks for me because it took me time to learn the other one. So now we have to move to this more simplified version. If you see, there is no even namespaces here. We just start writing code and that's it. So this is how you will usually use XPO on NetCore, like using the builder pattern. And that will work for most of the cases. But in this case, since I'm going to show like database running on the browser, actually, that's why I commented out. But I leave it like in here because this is how I started, and this is like the recommended way, unless you know what you're doing, so you can like do more advanced scenarios. So in my case, I move all this code and I did it by hand in the page. So let me show you the index.razor. This is just a really simple UI. It will be like an input with a button to save and a button to download the database, and that's it. And if you see the code behind, here I have some special things. One is the local storage from Blazor. If you don't know them, go and check them. They have amazing functionality for Blazor. So why we use that is even if you can use SQLite database inside of the browser, that's in memory. So there is no way to save it. You have it there, it's in your RAM, but once you destroy the process or you close the tab, then that's gone. So I use this to actually serialize the database in memory and save it in the browser storage. So that's one of the magic things here. And since I'm not using the pattern that I showed you before in the program, that is using the extensions from XPO to inject the unit of work, I'm doing that myself. Then I'm not using this injected unit of work. Before, you see, I have it there, but I was injecting it and not anymore. So the code that I'm basically running now is the init XPO. And again, I put this for the people who download the source. This is best practice number 7, how to initialize your data layer. So it's a copy paste from there. I always go Google that and copy that here. And then some methods. So let me show you what I do here. It's like when the index space is initialized, basically I go to the local storage of the browser and I see if the bytes array from the database are there. If it's null, it means it's the first time. So I get one that I embed here on the resources. I just did this. This will show just like an only byte array if I double click it. But I just did this just to do an example. If you want to provide initial data, imagine that this is an invoicing system or a point of sale. Maybe you want to have some configuration already there. So that's why I did it this way. I can just do the update in memory of the schema, and it will work also. But that's the way I'm doing it here to provide initial data. Then I query all the users that I have already in that database. I put it in this is a list. That's basically the initialize process. Let me run this. It will take some time because WebAssembly takes some time to compile. Also, if you're using native reference, it takes a little bit longer. But let's run this and see how it goes. Okay, so it's going to load the WebAssembly part. It takes some time because it needs to be everything needs to be rendered on the client side. Okay, so this is people from our office and my brother that is not in our office, but I always include him on the example. So here I can add anything like XAF meetup and save it. And when I hit the save button, what I'm going to do is like basically commit the XPO transaction, and I think I can put a breakpoint there. Save. So see is I create a new user, I pass the value that I get from the UI, I commit, I add it to the list, so it showed below in the list of users. And if I want to save it to the, well, here is commented out, we have this method, save to local storage. And if you see, what I do is, since you're using WebAssembly in this case, you have a file system in memory. So I only use file read all bytes as if the file actually exists, but it doesn't exist, it's only memory. And then I read all the bytes from the DB file. We created that here. See, this is you cannot put a path because there is no actually a file system there. You just write the file name. So you do that, you get the bytes from the file, and then you just save it in the local storage from the browser. This will not work good for really big applications. If you have like 10 gigabytes, you don't have to load a 10 gigabyte database in the browser. But if you have something like settings or stuff like that, it can be useful. And also it can be useful in the case that you want to do really complex queries on the client side. You can download the information from an API, save it in the database, and then do complex queries, joins and everything, and it will be blazing fast because everything will be client side. So, and then basically, well, after saving it to local storage, then when we start again, we get it from the local storage if it exists. So let me show you this here. So I will say it's here. And if I download the database at this moment, okay, so it's DB3 in downloads, I guess. Yeah, so I think I have the browser. Oh, I think I'm using this one. DB, if you have used it, download it is like amazing. It's an open source DB manager for multiple databases. It's based on Eclipse from Java. So really nice tool. You can connect to anything that is like famous. So let's see. So let's edit one of these connections. This one. I'm going to let's see, disconnect, and then edit. And the file name is this. Let's browse for the file name. Is this one. So okay. Let's connect. Let's check the tables. And I hope that the demo effect is not trying to get me today. See, this is the record. So that was created in the database in memory. Then we save it as a file and download it. So that's also something that is really, really useful. Since this is a Blazor WebAssembly application, it can be a progressive app. You can just run it in the, do this. No, I don't have the icon here. I have the icon in Chrome. So let's open Chrome. This is me. And just run this here. And basically, let's wait for this to load. You can install this as a desktop application because it's a progressive web app. So I think I have the icon on the desktop, but I'm not showing the desktop icons on my side. Let's see.
How's that?
Yep.
Have you heard that progressive web app? Have you heard that? Yes. Okay. Have you heard that progressive web apps are going away? That Firefox are going to discontinue?
You just killed me. You know, like a few weeks ago, I made this like 6 weeks ago, and I kind of love it. I was trying to see like how can I use it for my own purposes, like, you know, like those projects that you do for your family, for your cousin that they need something. And this layout seems super cool for me. And I was thinking, even like this, you cannot use Xamarin sometimes if you want. But well, I'm devastated already. So well, anyway, this one is the one running on my computer. See, the values on the database are different. The install icon doesn't show in here because it's already installed in my computer. But that's the beauty of a WebAssembly app, that you can have it as a progressive web app, and you can use it as a desktop application, or in a mobile, you can use it as a mobile application. So it gives you all the advantages of using mobile, using desktop without having to write a desktop application. You get away with a single UI, which is Blazor WebAssembly, where you can draw basically anything. That's the beauty of Blazor for me. That if you want to do a pizza chart, find a pizza picture and make a chart, and that's it. You can draw anything there. So, well, that's everything for this demo. I will copy the link on the chat so you can download it and play with it on your side. The only requirement is that you need to have Visual Studio 2022 and Net6. And beside that, you don't need to do anything. So back to you, Javier.
It looks like it stops. Yeah, beautiful.
Yes. Okay. So if you guys don't mind, I'm gonna quickly repeat just a second. I want the video to have the examples, but basically I'm gonna do it in a faster way. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened there, because when you stop the recording, it lets you know. It says stop, the recording got stopped. So I don't know. I didn't hear anything like that.
I thought you were showing something secret that nobody else can know about, except for us.
Actually, I don't even know when that happened. Maybe like Jorge's demo was not there.
It was right before you started this. So.
Oh, got it. Okay. So again, simple application. You have your multi-tenant, that this example that we are all done several times, the E100-344, something like that, where you have a multi-tenant that you're going to select the database name, but in this case, we want to limit the database name to only the department, the sites, or anything, the company ID that the clients are allowed to see. And for that one, we're going to add a query parameter that we call it DB group. And we're going to pass what is the tenant ID, the company ID, or whatever you want to call it. If you do that, basically you right here have the database that you want to display to that user, tenant 2, and you will see different databases and so on. And of course, all of them are their own users and so on. So how do we accomplish this? Like 3-4 steps. That's it. It's really simple. Middleware that is taking the request query, but only when the request path has the login page, because that's what we want. And of course, if you come to the startup and you create your own login page, you should come back to the middleware and adjust that here. If you do that, you create that, get that query parameter and save it in a service. That service, you're going to register it in the startup. So you have access then everywhere. And then we created a custom property editor for the string that basically is just, we call it custom string render, but basically that's a bad name. This is a combo box that we're using here. And basically we are passing in the data, we're passing all those tenants right here. We're calling this a dictionary database map because we're mapping those query parameters with the databases that we want to include. But right here, you can read from a file. You can call an API. You can call a database. Maybe you have a shared database where you have things that is just for administration of all your sites, all your clients. So right there, you go and call it with the, right here, you can have the object space, the application provider, you call that, and then you get the database that you need. And basically you populate that with the tenant that you want, and pretty much that's it. This is a property editor as all of with the 4 parts that we have been seeing, the render, the model, the editor, and the adapter, and you're good to go. One thing that is nice that I didn't have time to show here is how to create a custom route that it will be your domain.com/client1 tenant1, and that will redirect to that query parameter, and then we're gonna do everything exactly the same. Last thing will be you need to, of course, add the middleware in your configure. So this is important to have it in the order I have. Middleware are going to be executed in order. And that's it. That was a fast explanation, but we stopped recording, so I didn't want to bore you guys with the same content. All right. Okay, so this is the example that I wanted to show real quick just to see another of the functionalities from XAF Blazor. I don't have any other demo for today, so if you guys have any more questions, if you guys want us to show something or try something, let us know. I think that Jose wants to show something, but
yes, I have another demo. I don't know if we have time for that. I think that yes, we have like a little bit of time. It's something that is more, actually the example is XAF, but it's not related to XAF only. You can do that in every .NET application. So I'm going to show it because I think it's like super cool. So let me, I will drop you from sharing, Javier. So I hope it doesn't stop recording again. So let's see. Okay. So I hope I'm sharing my studio because Zoom is behaving strange today. But anyway, what I want to share in this case is something that is called the application schema. And that is not a XAF concept, it's a .NET concept in general, and it's not only .NET. This can happen in any application. It's more than OS related concept. So here what I have is, imagine that we have a customer that, actually we have several customers that always tell us the same. So we'll try to do a prototype for them. In general, is okay, I like XAF application. I only have a XAF web application, whatever that is, Blazor or web forms. And I love it, but I don't want to use the designer on web because it kind of sucks somehow. You do backspace and you go back in the page, not delete something. So I always wanted to do this, but I happened to have the time like 2 months ago. And what I did is, like, let me explain you the solution. This solution is XAF web and Windows solution. Is the idea of this is basically run a web application like XAF web forms in this case, go to a record, and that record can be anything, but in this case it's going to be a dashboard, and click edit and open the desktop designer in exactly that dashboard or record. You can use that for reports also as well. So, or for anything, it's like to do a schema communication through the OS. So basically, this is like a normal XAF application. There is nothing special in here at all. The magic happened in the setup project. So the setup project gives us the opportunity to register like registry entries and file type association and a lot of other things. So in this case, what I did is I added a setup project. I added the primary output. If view file system. You will see this is I have here the primary output of the Windows application. That's it. I have a video about this on my channel. Actually, it's the most watched video that I have with like 255,000 views. So I guess a lot of people is looking for setup projects. So nothing special here. The magic happens if you do right click and you do view registry, and then in the class root, you add an entry, like the entry can be named whatever you want, and you add a default here. So the default is I want to register this URL, the URL that is dashboard designer, and then I want to add a shell folder, and in the shell I add the default value that is open, and then inside of the open value, I basically what I do is I tell it, okay, when you see that URL, you should hold on, let me just close those stuff so I don't get notifications. So basically, after we register the URL, we're telling it, okay, when you see that URL in the browser or in whatever application, you just need to go to the target here, that is where we install the application, and open the executable, and pass whatever arguments you have to the application. You can do this in any language. It's not something related to XAF or C#. Also, you can do it in Visual Basic.NET, in Visual Basic 6. The idea is the same. So let's see the Windows Forms application. In the Windows Forms application, in the program, you always have this part, right? The main. So you can use this line, this part of .NET also, to get the arguments from the command line. So in this case, I'm getting the arguments, and if the arguments are in the right way, I basically, what I'm doing in this case is I'm passing from the web application, I'm passing the connection string to the desktop application, and I'm passing the OID of the dashboard that I want to open. So basically, that's the trick. It's really like 10 lines of code, maybe a little bit cumbersome because there is not much information about this in general. There's not much documentation, but it's not difficult. There are no so many lines to do. So after that, you can do like right click and install. I have it installed already. So I'm not going to do that right now because it will take time. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to basically run the web application. In the web application, what I did is I added a page, like a landing page, like super beautiful. I just, yes, you can see the design here with two buttons, like download and run designer. So that's the only thing that I have there. So let me run this. And what is going to happen is that if this, okay. What is going to happen is that in an action, I'm going to open that URL. That URL will tell the OS, hey, someone is requesting this application to open. The same as like how Zoom or Teams works. So it will, hold on, let's finish. It started already because I have it loaded in the, so it killed my my demonstration. So let me move the Zoom bar to the side. Unless, since I kill it, say yes. Sorry for that. It's like I have that URL already open in the browser. So when I open the browser, it triggers the application. So see, this killed the surprise, but okay, let's run it again. So I'm going to run the web part, and I'm going to click in an action or in a record, and that will tell, okay, Windows application, someone is requesting you open. And since I'm passing in the arguments, the connection string and the OID of the dashboard, it will open. So it's a good way to add desktop designer to web applications. So let's wait for it. Let's log in here. Okay, so I have these two dashboards, so I'm going to open this one. And if I click Open Dashboard Designer, it will open that URL that I registered on the setup. So see, you see it here. And if I click, this is telling the browser, okay, this URL is requesting this application. So if I click Open, since I'm forwarding the connection string, it will connect to the database and open that dashboard. That is empty. It didn't do anything, just drag one controller, but it's good enough to show the flow. And just let's click on those. And that's it. Basically, this is the dashboard that we select to open in the web application. So I think this is something really cool if you have that web-only approach and you need to provide desktop connectivity somehow. And that's basically it. And again, for this, you don't need web forms or anything, or Blazor or anything. The magic happens on the setup project, which is some kind of really primitive project, but really cool in this sense. You can add this functionality. Of course, most of this is not documented, or the documentation is 15 or 18 years old. So good luck with that. It took a time to put the idea together, but it's not much code, just 20 lines tops. So that's it for my demo. Yes. So it's me.
So we actually did the same thing ourselves, launching a local app to interact with files and whatnot from a Blazor application, XAF Blazor. One thing to note is in your installer, if you're using the HKey local root for your registry entries, you have to run that installer as administrator, I believe. If you put it in the HKey local user, then any user can do it as their own local user install.
Basically, it depends. This is a problem that most people will face when they do setup for SAF applications, because when you run the SAF application, the desktop one, for the first time, it will compile the model DLL, and that requires like write permission, and you don't have write permission to the program file. So you have to add the manifesto to say like run as a require administrative privileges for that. But if you set it, you put it in any other way, or actually, I guess there is a way to save that DLL somewhere else, or you should ship it with your application from your bin folder. You add it from there, and then it will not require that. So yeah, I mean, there are a lot of like minor things to do, but I just want to show the concept that it's possible. That is something that I think that is really useful.
Yeah, it's very, very cool.
Okay, I don't know what's going on that every time the host stops sharing, that at least this time he let us know. So, okay, guys, this is basically what we have for today. There is a one thing that I'm not sure if Jose mentioned is like that desktop application, the connection is, you have to wait, of course, API or direct connection, and both if you go and look the file location and you check, there is no connection string, everything is encrypted, everything is passed, so there is no security concern there. And of course, if you use API, there is no security concern there. Now Gianpaolo is asking if we could do that for the SAF model. Click a button on the web, open the model editor, change something, refresh.
Yeah, basically it's all about you will have to load it from the database, because the one from web is already in the database, but that's actually possible. I mean, it's only like about playing with the idea, but the concept to communicate applications, and once you know where the files are located, is possible. So I didn't thought about that, but that's also a good idea. We should have an example for that. I'll put it on the list.
Okay, we have another question about SAF Blazor production application case in terms of simulating simultaneous user. So I think that should be something that everyone can do. Anyone who has a SAF Blazor application in production will be happy to see how they're doing, if they share any metrics, and so on, so on. I think that we need to take the time to actually extract that information and not have any proprietary information, any confidential information, anything. So basically just go there and show users and metrics about CPU, about memory, but the performance is great. So again, we have talked about performance several times, And XAF, I do believe is great, but you have to understand after a certain amount of user, it's not software only. It's also hardware. It's also a database. It's also network. So yeah, I think that at some point we'll get to that. I think that that's also on the Devexpress roadmap. It's just time constraints are just, I think that the main issue to actually do a nice case study that shows that. Because again, if we can show like Jose did a performance and a load test for 400 users, and it shows that the CPU consumption, memory consumption was laughable. So, but of course, there is a lot of other questions there. The application was just a file new. There was no customization. There was no third-party integration. So there are a lot of other considerations there, like the database was just loading one record. It was not loading million records. So those things always going to take into account. Remember, everything that you're seeing in Blazor saved in your screen is in memory. All those components, everything like that is in memory. That's how it works. And that memory will take place as much people get to use. It takes also in consideration the amount of disconnected circuit that they're retaining, the amount of, so there are a lot of things there. That by itself is a complete case study. So we can definitely, I encourage everyone, like, don't be afraid, go for it for sure. Like, if you get to a point that you have 1,000 users, 2,000 users, that's a good problem to have. Then we tweak. And of course, always think about the performance. You can always use something like Bogus and create a lot of data in your application and see how it behaves. That's a good thing about if you're, because right now you have 100 records, everything is working great. When you have 100,000, then nothing works. So do some testing like in your application. That way you can ensure that 6 months from now, a year from now, your application will be still running good. And share those results. Let us know what you tried. Let us know what you have done. Let us know what, there are a lot of great things. Like we have a client that is using Azure SQL Business Critical. It gives a response in 2 seconds back. So they are fixing the issue with money. That's not fixing the issue with architecture, with design from the beginning. So that would be my 2 cents there.
Okay, so now it's time for my 2 cents also. So it's going to be like 6 cents once they put his own 2 cents in here. So anyway, as Javier said, like, and I always tell this to the students because we have a lot of like students, programmers group that are learning about XPO and stuff. It's like stuff take care of so many tasks for you that you have the time to do what no one have the time to do test scenarios. And I strongly advise you to do unit testing is kind of difficult. So at least integration testing, when you create a scenario like, okay, let's create an invoice and calculate the taxes and see like everything is good. So between deployments, you're sure that your logic is still the same and it's working. And also the second part that you need to test is make it the ORM design. See how it works with X type of hardware and X amount of data. Okay, you have like a 16 gigabyte server, like on memory, and 8 cores or 10 cores, and you have 1 million records, and it's fine. So you will know in advance that it's fine, because again, SAF takes so much things. They do so many things for you in advance that you don't have to spend time dragging controls to the form and stuff like that, and doing the list view and then the detail view. So you have time to test scenarios and do basically data loading tests, which is the most important, because sometimes you're like, hey, this works with 10 records, but what will happen with 1 million records, 2 million records? We have seen SAF applications that are huge. They are even bigger than any other application that I have ever seen in my life. Like we have one case of one of the customers with like almost 600 gigabytes database. So that's huge in general. So once you reach those levels, you need to try to forecast how the application will behave. Because if you have 6 gigabytes today, or 400 gigabytes today, what will happen in 10 years? So again, you have to put some money on that on the servers and things like that. But for the most normal scenarios, you have the time to load your application with 1 million records using Bogus. Javier have an amazing video on that. And then do the test. We have a few videos about integration testing. So if you have the time, do that, do it in advance, and that will pay greatly, not today, but in 1 year or in 2 years. So that's my 2 cents on that.
All right, guys, any other questions? Or anyone who wants to add anything? The future is brilliant with XAF Blazor, so this is only getting better. So stick with us. You will see, you will get your client's application developed fast, have a performance, and stable. Okay, if that's all for today's meetup,
No, the camera. Yes. So if everyone can turn on the camera, it will be nice. So I can have a picture of this meetup. I have pictures of all of them. So here, like 1, 2, smile. And again, and that's it. Thank you, guys.
Okay, guys, see you next month for the next meetup. If you have any topic suggestions, let us know. I think that one topic that is coming is community modules, so we can review all the modules that Yamachan has, all the modules that we do, and at some point, I think that before I die, I should be able to get expand here. He's not easy to track. He's not easy to track, but at some point, I think that we will be able to get a poster here to give a complete walkthrough of the expand from beginning to end. So hopefully that will happen. Okay, guys, as always, thank you for joining, and see you in the next one.